Good people, y'all know what it is. Y'all got excuse me, man. This pollen is bothering your boy a little bit, but we're gonna push through it. So, yo, it's another Wednesday night. It's another episode, Eagles Elite Podcast. All things Philadelphia Eagles. This is your spot. You can go other places too. Make sure you stop by here as well. Now, big stories this week, of course. We need to at least give some overview, right, of how the 3-4 defense works. So a lot of people have been upset because of the next topic, Hassan Reddick being traded, right? But there's method to the madness, right? Everything doesn't always work how you want it to, but there's a method to that madness. All right. Of course, we got to talk about, just like we did last week. We got to flip it around. We need to discuss what do we feel are our draft needs on the defensive side of the ball, right? Any players that we want to add, that are still out as free agents before the draft. And also, of course, you're going to get a little bit of that Eagles elite level thoughts on a couple of the things, because y'all know how we do. In the chat, we always ready for y'all. Much love to y'all. Appreciate y'all for being part of the show as well. It's time to get this thing started. Shout out to 502 Angel Radio. Let's go. Wyatt, what up, man?
What's going on, Cool? What's going on, Eagles Nation? I'm ready to get into everything. There's a lot to talk about. I mean, you already mentioned a lot of it. Biggest news, of course, is the Hassan Reddick trade that has happened that we weren't really sure about. But I'm ready to get into all of it, man.
Let's go. So we're going to start out with just a little explanation. And then, obviously thoughts, why you have thoughts, getting yours as well, on the 3-4 defense. But before we do any of that, we got to get a little bit of that extra heightness going on.
Absolutely.
So it's time. Let's go.
The kick is away, and the kick is, it's gone! And the Eagles win!
It's hard to come to South Philadelphia and leave here with the win. You just don't come to Philadelphia and leave here with the win.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.
All right. And we got our first comment. Well, first couple of comments. So we got Benny Boone with the What's Good fam. Benny, what's
happening,
good?
Benny?
I had to go back to the OG Eagles Elite today, Benny, but shout out to Benny Boone Creations, man. Keeps us laced with nice, fresh hats. Make sure y'all check out my man, Benny Boone. Follow him and check out some of that fly gear that my man be making.
Absolutely.
In the building, we got Philly. What up?
Philly.
And before we go any further, guys, I want to take a moment and say thank you to everybody who watches the show, everyone who subbed. We hit over 200 subs, right? So it's time for the next 200 real quick. Let's try to get us there by the end of the year. Let's go. If I get to go to games like I want to, I think we can do it. Hey, but we need everybody in the fam help, all of the other people. Make sure you're sharing this out, man. Make sure you're telling people to come check us out. All that good stuff. It helps us grow. We do our thing, but we can always use help for the people that watch the show. People trust what y'all say more than us, because we ain't gonna do a show that say it sucks, right? Let's just be real. But if y'all like it, y'all telling people, they're more likely to be, all right, well, let me go check that out. So, appreciate everybody that's been doing that. But, hey, we just ask that you continue to do so, because we need the support. Appreciate it. All right, but time to get into the topics here, y'all. So we're gonna start out real simple. Vic Fangio and the 3-4 defense. So I'm gonna come from a very simplistic explanation to begin. So the 3-4 is a common defensive alignment with 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. It's called a base defense because it will readily switch to other defensive alignments such as nickel, dime, and circumstantial changes. All right, so that's one piece of it. All right, so then whenever you talk about a defense, we always have to talk about what's the weakness. So the big weakness for the 3-4 It's an offensive line that blocks well downhill. It gives them numbers advantages on the run. Heavy run packages, 2 tight end sets, fullbacks, defensive players that lack size, push, and don't tackle well are all things that are a weakness in this defense. Right? So that's one of the reasons why we're going to get into this later, but that's one of the reasons why we no longer will have Hassan Reddick. So let's talk about some quick basics principles. So basically the 3-4 uses, of course, a 3 down lineman, 4 linebackers, 4 defensive backs. It uses 2 outside linebackers that helps create matchup difficulty for the offense. Everything mirrors each other in base sets. So you look at one side of a 3-4, it's exactly like the other side of a 3-4, right? Especially in the defensive backfield. So those are some of basic things. Don't want to give you too much at one time. Wyatt, anything you would like to add as we're kind of just some basic discussions on how the 3-4 defense works? And
well, I mean, oh no, go ahead, man. Sorry.
We'll enter in. The Diva is in the building. What up, Diva? All right, well, Diva's getting the sound right while she's doing that. Wyatt, go ahead. But Diva, just when you can hear us and you get everything good, we're talking about the 3-4 defense and some basic principles of it to help everyone understand what's going to be different between this and the defense that we've been running.
No, I was just going to interject to say, like, for those who don't know, a lot of what we were running before, we weren't running 3-4 defense. We were running kind of the opposite, like 4-3, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah, but we were kind of running the Vic Fangio kind of style as far as like the bend not break and in the secondary and such. But that's part of the reason why they wanted to bring Fangio in, is because they've been kind of emulating that defense for so long. So they wanted to bring the kind of the architect of it all and incorporate his own defense over here in Philly. Also helps that he's located in Philly too. He wanted to be near home as well. I mean, it has its ups and downs. Like I mentioned, it's a very bend not break. It can get you through the run. It's going to be a lot of what we've seen throughout the past couple years. I feel hopefully not as bad as last year, because everything was all discombobulated. There didn't seem to be any order or game plan whatsoever. But I feel like from the looks of it and from what we're seeing on the field, it's going to be similar to what we've seen years past. I'm not sure if we're going to be getting the sacks or production from the defensive line that we were in 2022. But as far as what we can expect, as far as points being scored or whatnot like that, it's going to be very similar, I feel like, to the past couple years or so from what we were trying to do from that standpoint.
All right. Diva, have you gotten everything good now?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. So we were just, again, talking about the 3-4. Any thoughts that you would like to throw in on the 3-4? I've got a couple more things I'm gonna add, but I'll let you go ahead and throw in any thoughts you might have.
It's just a wait and see. I'm not a fan of the 3-4 defense. Well, more or less, I'm not a fan of the bend but don't break. I miss them old days where we used to just get after everybody, hitting hard. We also got a new rule that's in place about tackling, so that's kind of
we talked about that last week.
Yeah. So I'm just still a wait and see. Because that bend but don't break don't get you nowhere, as we've seen the past 10 years that we've been doing it. I mean, it might be a little bit better that we actually have the creator of it, but I mean, in my opinion, the bend but don't break defense is really easy to figure out. So that's my thing.
So just to clear it up for everybody, bend but don't break is a philosophy. It's not like a 3-4, 4-3, anything. We were running that out of the 4-3 for the past few years. So Diva's correcting that, but just want to make sure no one gets confused thinking that that's tied to the 4-3 or the 3-4 specifically. It's not. It's a philosophy. It's keep the offense in front of you, give up small plays, but then stop them when you get like in field goal range or on the goal line. So that's a philosophical issue that we have. But as far as the defense itself, another thing I want to make sure I point out is the most important group in the 3-4 is the linebacker group. It's the most critical, I'm going to even say, because they have to do multiple things in order to be successful. If you can't do these things as a linebacker, outside or inside linebacker at 3-4, this defense is toast. You have to be able to pressure the quarterback. You have to step in the holes for tackles, blocks, things like that. You have to laterally pursue the run. You also have to assist in pass coverage. So what that means is that linebacker has to be versatile. They have to be able to do everything on the field, right? So if you have a linebacker that can't do everything on the field, you may can disguise one in certain situations. You know, 3rd and short is probably going to be a run. You know, you have certain guys you can put in. You know, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 10 is probably going to be a pass. So you have certain guys you can put in, right? You know, 1st down after they just ran the ball 3 or 4 times, they may pass. So there are situations where you can put in what we would call a traditional edge rusher, but not a lot, because you need that extra support from the linebacker group. That's why you have the 4 linebackers, right? Before you had the 4 linemen on our team in the 4-3, where the linemen were responsible for a lot of, you know, pass rush, and you had Reddick off the edge, but you had the linemen responsible for it. You had them responsible for containing the runs and things like that. Because there's only going to be 3 linemen, a lot of that's going to fall onto the inside linebackers if there's runs up the middle, outside linebackers if there's runs outside, and then for short mid-range passes, the corners aren't going to be coming up and helping. The linebackers are responsible for that as well. You know, if it's like a formation where you have like a screenplay or something, yeah, you'll get help. But in basic formations, the linebackers are expected to handle all of those things. Last year, our linebackers weren't expected to handle a lot as far as run. They weren't expected to handle a lot as far as pass protection. We had a lot of that happen from the secondary. But because of this philosophy switch to this 3-4, a lot of that's going to change. Right, the guys who are going to play linebacker have to be very versatile. All right, and then one of the things we talk about, home defense, right? Home defense is something that you talk about as far as staying in your positions. So a lot of times, you know, defense, you got a position based on the formation, based on how things are being run, especially if it's man to man. We call the 3-4 a dime defense. And like I said, some of this is a little bit more in detail than others, but just want to give people on different levels a little bit of, you know, how this works. We call it a dime defense because you can have 6 backs, right? That's 6 defensive backs. Sometimes you bring in 6 defensive backs into the game. You bring in 6 defensive back, you call it dime or dime back. So that's where that comes from. But as far as home, there's certain things that you do as fundamentals of defense. And the 5 fundamentals of defense is evade, arm, barricade, contact, and counter, right? These are things that, again, everyone needs to be able to do now that we're making this switch. So what's interesting about it, what's exciting about it, what's going to be different about it, no matter how it actually works out, is the fact of how we're putting the defense together and how we're basically saying, this is the guys that we need, or that we believe we need to play the solid defense that we're now going to be playing. This isn't just, oh, we're going to put an extra linebacker on the field and we're going to take a defensive lineman off. It's much more than that. You can take a guy like Justin Simmons, for instance, who's a safety but has a pretty solid body. You could put him in as one of these 4 linebackers if you wanted to in the 3-4. You wouldn't be able to put him at linebacker in a 4-3 as much, but you can put him at linebacker in a 3-4 because he can tackle, he can guard the pass, he can shoot the gaps, make form tackles, and make plays. And he understands how all that works because he's been in the secondary, so he's been watching it from a distance. So that's something else that you can do when you're moving to the 3-4 that you may not be able to do in a 4-3. And that's why you have guys who may be hybrids if they can still do everything. So we could talk more about the 3-4 as we get, you know, throughout the season. I just wanted to, you know, kind of throw some thoughts out there and some things out there just to help educate everyone who's looking at this. This doesn't really affect the 4 in the back as much, except that they don't have as much responsibility. They still have to cover the rest of the field, but they're not expected to come up and make as many plays. They're expected to drop back more and make sure that everything behind the linebackers are covered and that there's no guys running open. One of the big issues we complained about last year, too many guys running free. Because in the 4-3, a lot of times you get lined up against a linebacker. That linebacker can't really cover. One of them can, maybe 2, never all 3 of them. So in this defense, that weakness should be gone. So if you get lined up, if a linebacker gets lined up on a slot wide receiver or a 4th wide receiver, they should be able to cover them and they should be able to execute and stop them from making a play. So that's some of the differences. Like I said, it's more susceptible to the run because you're taking the guy off the line and you're putting him back at linebacker essentially. So it's more susceptible to the run, but that's why those linebackers are so critical. They do kind of everything on the field. They're like jacks of all trades. Any other thoughts from you guys on just the 3-4 defense as a whole before we move on?
No, I'm good.
No.
All right. And so we'll go ahead to our next topic, of course. Hassan Reddick has been traded. It's a 2026 third-round pick. It can become a second-round pick. I would have to double check. But I believe if he plays 67.5% or more of the snaps, then it becomes a second-round pick in 2026.
Also has to get 10 sacks, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see a sack piece as well. I think if he plays, he'll get the sacks, in my opinion. It's never going to be an issue with the sacks if he plays. Benny says the LBs must know how to hit the gaps. Yeah, Benny, that's what I was saying about being able to line up in holes. It's basically, same terminology, different wording. But got to be able to hit those holes, hit those gaps. There's a lot more discipline that's expected as well. So, Diva, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on Hassan Reddick being traded, and also any thoughts that you have on. Well, we'll just start with your thoughts on him being traded, and then we'll go from there.
I mean, of course, I'm not happy about it, but I mean, it's a business thing. He wanted more money, and we just wasn't willing to budge. We know how he is. He's a money guy, and he's a numbers guy, and he just didn't want to come off that money. So, I mean, it is what it is. He's gone, but just got to move on. And from what I'm hearing, he wouldn't fit in the defense that we got now. Some rumors going around that him and Vic Fangio had already had words. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Why? Any thoughts? We'll break down some specific categories too, but just any overall thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of the trade. Both sides just letting him go, and also just the compensation for it. Because if we would have kept him this year and let his contract run out, it was looking like we were going to get a third-round compensatory pick anyway. And it's from what they're saying, he isn't even getting a contract extension with the Jets as of right now. So we pretty much just traded him when we didn't need to trade him. We could have let his contract play out. And as far as like the not fitting thing, I can understand it, but in the same thing, like he's one of the best players on your defense. You can find a way to make him fit on your squad, whether you're Vic Fangio or whoever you are. Even Jonathan Gannon can make him fit on the squad. I feel like it's just a dumb excuse. I feel like a game record like that, where every defense has to game plan around him, you could find a way to make it fit no matter what your scheme is. I don't know if there was drama behind the scenes. Apparently, like Diva was saying, apparently he wasn't having a good relationship between Sirianni, something with Vic Fangio. Who knows what it is? Maybe that'll come out someday. I feel like there was a way they could have made it work, especially if you may not have done a contract extension anyway. You could have got the same compensation for letting him walk. But then again, like he could have been getting that 10 sacks and playing 60% snaps with us and getting the same production instead of for another team for the same amount of money. I don't know. It feels like how he's been hitting so far all off season so far. And it's just like, this was the one that kind of stuck out that didn't work for me. I know a lot of other people feel the same way. And a lot of other people feel different about it. I just feel like it was kind of not needed at this point, especially for the compensation.
So, we'll get to some of the things that you talked about. Let it be for a moment. But the first thing I want to ask is you guys' thoughts on his time as an Eagle. How do you feel about him as, a member of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Is Diva still here? I didn't want to start talking.
No, I'm right here.
Oh, no, you're good. Go ahead.
I felt like he gave us good production, especially last year. I felt like he was basically one of the only players that really played. I know he had a few games where, he just couldn't get to the quarterback, but I felt like overall he really gave us good production. He played hard. He wasn't hurt. He played majority, if not all, of his snaps. So I guess I don't understand that, because it's really going to be left up to Josh Sweat. I mean, I like Josh Sweat, but I just don't feel like, he was productive last year. He's not as hard going as Reddick is. And I would personally, like I said in the chat, I would let Josh Sweat go, even though I know he reconstructed his contract. I still would let him go and kept Hassan Reddick, but that's just my opinion. But I felt like he really gave us his all. And you can kind of tell he didn't really want to go to the Jets. He didn't want to leave at all, but it reminds me of the whole CJ GJ thing. I feel like this might come back to bite us like it did with CJ GJ. You know what I mean? We really missed him altogether, energy wise, production wise. And I feel like that's really gonna hit us, but it is what it is.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on him as an Eagle?
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely one of my favorite players on the Eagles. I mean, I ended up getting into his Kelly Green jersey because of how much I liked him. I think he was a really good leader on that defense in the locker room. He went out and gave his all, like Diva said. He had very successful seasons with us as far as production. Even like last year, starting the season with that, like, what was it, like a cast on his hand? He didn't get the greatest production, but after that cast came off, you started seeing him racking up those sacks. Then, of course, once the mess happened, bringing Matt Patricia in and handling all that, everybody, the whole defense went out the window at that point. And it's kind of just felt like a scapegoat because they were saying they weren't happy with the production from him towards the end of the season. But like that was everybody. It wasn't just Hassan Reddick. It was everybody, including Josh Sweat. I don't know. He's always been my favorite since we got him. And I like the production that he brings. And I felt like it would have been consistent if he would have stayed as well. I don't think he would have dipped, especially under a Vic Fangio defense. But it's like you said, Cool. He's only out there to get sacks. That's what his responsibility is as an edge rusher. I don't know. I really liked him as an Eagle. I just wish he would have been able to stay as an Eagle. I wish they were able to work it out. But I mean, like you said, 20-something mil, 25 mil is a pretty hefty price tag for someone that is only rushing the passer and trying to get sacks.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed Hassan Reddick while he was here in Philadelphia. Definitely a very productive guy. He isn't a guy that will come to my mind as a locker room leader. I mean, we talked last week about all the guys that they talked about being, locker room leaders. And if you go look at some of the press conferences from last year, different guys they talked about being locker room leaders. I don't think Hassan Reddick's name is really in that conversation. I don't think he's a detriment to the locker room at all. I'm not saying that, but I think he's just to put my head down. I do what I do. I'm here for one specific thing. Let me do that. So I don't have a problem with Reddick. I know a lot of people that wanted him gone had or felt like he was leaving or wanted him gone was attempted to trash what he did with the Eagles, and I don't think you can do that. You can't deny what he did. My point of contention always is that was in the 4-3. One of the reasons why I remember on this show, when we got Fangio, I was like, I don't want Fangio. One of the reasons I didn't want Fangio is this, right? Because I understood that was going to change the defense. You change the defense, certain guys are going to go. And we could say, like, you can find a way to make it work. But let's be honest, you couldn't find a way to make a guy that probably wasn't even going to play 50% of the time. And didn't have the other skills, not even on a minimal level to where you could really use him, unless if he was big enough to play on the line with his hand in the dirt, then you could put him on the line, but he wasn't big enough for that. He was going to need to be a linebacker. I just don't see where it was going to work. And that was like one of the things where I was like, oh, no, not Fangio. Like that's why I was hoping for a different guy. But honestly, when he was let go at Miami, I was like, he'll be our defensive coordinator in 24 hours, and he was, because I already know that's where he wanted to be. And the only reason he wasn't here the year before is because when Gannon left, the Eagles didn't know if they were going to have to bring Gannon back or not because of the tampering allegations, right? But they were able to still, move him and just get back draft compensation. But sometimes you have to get the coach back, and you're not able to go to that team. So they didn't know what was going to happen with that. So that's the only reason we ended up with who we ended up with as a DCs last year, because they wanted Fangio last year. But yeah, loved him while he was here. But again, I just don't think it was going to work moving forward. And that is what it is. It's unfortunate, but that's part of, the sport. You change everything about the base of what you use. Certain players are no longer as valuable, right? And then we talk about we only got a second round pick, possibly, or a third round pick. We also got $14.5 million in cap space that we would not have had. So now we have even more cap space because his salary is going to be paid, and as well as his bonuses, all are going to be paid by the Jets. So all that comes off our books. So that's also another, I'm not saying it's a great benefit, but it's another thing to look at because it gives you more flexibility to go out and get other guys or sign people that are part of the team. All right. So I kind of alluded to it, but we have the $14.5 million more in cap space now. So a couple of questions for you. How should we use that money? And then for Wyatt and Diva, even though Wyatt's kind of already answered this, do you believe he would have had the same production in the 3-4 that he did in the 4-3? Of course, with tackles, with linemen, needed an open field tackle, drop back into coverage, hit gaps, and have all those responsibilities that it didn't have previously. So Diva will actually, let's go with Wyatt first for this one. Switch it up a little bit.
I mean, I think he would have had pretty much the same production. I don't know if they would have, because of his skill set, I don't know if they would have had him moving around or dropping him in coverage. Maybe they would have. Maybe it would have worked out in the 3-4 defense. I think he still would have came out with over 10 sacks. I mean, it seems like that's just how he is, and that's how he's been throughout his whole career. He's going out there and getting sacks. He's doing what he was drafted to do. And it just depends on how the coverage is set and who else is going to be part of the starters, who's going to be rotating in there and what they're going to be doing as well. But I think the production was still going to be there regardless.
All right, Diva, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with Wyatt. I mean, I think the production would have always been there. If you look back at his other years in Arizona, he's always been a productive guy. So I think it could have been a way that it could have worked for him. Of course, he might not have been dropping back as much, but honestly, I don't think he liked dropping back in coverage. I think he complained about that. He really just wanted to come off the edge. But yeah, I think the production wise, he would have still gave us what we needed. I mean, for him to be in his 30s, I mean, he was producing well and didn't have.
This is his 30 year. He'll be 30 years. He's 30 now.
Yeah. And I think that he would have been fine. I mean, he really wasn't hurt. Like, I mean, if you look at some of our players, they're constantly hurt. Reddick was never really hurt. He was always in there playing the game, playing all the snaps. So yeah, I think the production would have been there.
Well, I definitely don't think the production would have been there because he wouldn't have been on the field. You would not be able to put him on the field in downs where you know it was going to be it was going to be a run play. Downs where you were going to have your outside linebackers based on the formation drop back, you wouldn't have been able to have him in there because he doesn't want to do that. So I don't think he would have had the same amount of snaps, which I think would have affected his productiveness. I think if you look at like his production per snaps, you would have seen the same numbers, but for the times that he's in the game. But if you're only playing half the game versus the whole game, you're not going to have the same amount of production, right? If you're getting 500 snaps and it gets cut down to 250, you can't have the same production with 250 snaps that you have at 500 snaps. So I think we would have saw a drop based on how much he would have played. Now, when he played, I think if he was put in the right situations, he would have been productive. But here's the other part. OCs now understand what's out there on the defensive side. So if you put a guy out there that only really rushes the passer, we were going to do a pass play, right? But now we're just going to run at him because we understand that that's not something that, I mean, he can do it. I'm not saying the man can't tackle at all, but he's not what you would grade as a high grade run tackle. So you look at the personnel that's on the field, and then the offensive coordinator would adjust their plays to that.
I mean, you could say the same thing about Bryce Huff, though, too. He's not a great tackler. He's not a great run stopper.
No, he's not a great run stopper, but what can he do that Hassan Reddick can't do? He can cover. He has some covering ability, and he's okay with doing that. So
yeah,
that's a big
it's just
difference.
That's a big gamble to take, especially for a guy that hasn't played that many snaps.
So
like
we're paying him $30 million, a little over $30 million for 3 years. Hassan Reddick wanted half that, would have got half that this year. So even if Huff is not as productive as Hassan Reddick, he doesn't carry the same salary weight. So the expectation isn't the same.
Well, from what I'm reading, I mean, when he was with Arizona, he played in the 3-4 defense. He played in the 3-4 defense at Temple.
He did play in the 3-4 defense in Arizona. And how many years was he in Arizona?
I mean, but he was with Kingsbury, though.
Yeah,
still
but
had
I'm saying
over 10 sacks.
He did have over 10 sacks because they played him more. You have to realize different defensive coordinators are going to use their players differently. I really think that Vic Fangio was not going to play him anywhere near as much because, again, Arizona was 4 or 5 years ago. He's not the same athletically as he was then. He's never been a guy that really wanted to drop back in coverage. And there's nothing wrong with that. Him only wanting to do certain things, there's nothing wrong with that. But teams saying we want you to be able to do more, there's nothing wrong with that either. And if you can't, that's fine. But let's move on. And why carry him for a year, have $15 million or $14.5 million cap hit for him, where you can get rid of that and you can bring in other pieces, or you can pay some of the other guys that you want to keep there with some or all of that money. That's the other thing.
You don't have the talent like him, nor is, I don't know if there's that much talent out there that's available. That's the thing, is we had a defense that was historically bad last year.
Yeah, we did have
pretty
a
much
defense that was
revamping the whole
historically bad.
thing, and you're
You
bringing
are.
in a lot of young guys and a lot of free agents that aren't proven.
Well, that's not completely true. A lot of those guys are proven. They did good things where they were at. Now, Huff is one of the ones who didn't play every down, but a lot of those other guys were starters or part of rotations on their team. So the rest of those guys, all those inside linebackers, they played. And they were brought in because they are going to be able to provide depth or start on this team. We also have a guy named Nolan Smith that we talked about all offseason last year, plays like Reddick, but he can't cover some. It's faster and he can't tackle a little bit more. Yeah. He didn't play a lot.
We don't
last
know
year.
What he is because we barely seen him.
He's injured.
But he has to have. But he has to have an opportunity, and he can't get an opportunity.
Yeah,
if the coaches don't let him on the field.
So that we're expecting to go out there and make a run for a championship, you're relying on a ton of unproven young guys for your defense.
Well, my only thing about Nolan Smith is he's really injury prone.
I mean, same thing with Nakobe Dean. He's injury prone, and what we've seen of him, it's been okay, but it hasn't been like stellar.
Well, I think that's why the good thing about Nakobe Dean is there's enough other guys that if Nakobe Dean can't get the job done at inside linebacker, there's other guys that can take that position. Whereas before, he was so much better than what was behind him, he was going to be there anyway. Devin White from Tampa Bay. He's not a young player. He's a veteran. He knows how to play in the 3-4. Zach Bond from New Orleans. He was a good rotational piece for them. He played valuable minutes. So these are guys that did play. Now, when we look at our outside linebackers, I am a little concerned right now because the backups for Huff and Sweat are Brandon Graham, who I don't think, I think that's going to be the situational guy. So when we look at like who's going to be that guy that you only put in certain situations, that's going to be retiring after the season, kind of farewell tour Brandon Graham, right? Nolan Smith is the backup for Josh Sweat. I honestly can see if he goes out and plays well, Nolan Smith might take that position before the end of the season.
I'm sure he will.
Hoping.
And that's the thing. And see, that's the thing. It's asking literally a completely different skill set, right? From what you already had. And I'm not saying that if you told Hassan Reddick, hey, you have to go learn all these things if you want to stay on the team, that he would have done his best to do so. But they're not going to pay you the money that you wanted either. And I think that was a line in the sand on both people. I want this. We're only going to pay you this. And I get it. Like I said, I'm not happy that he's gone. I'm not happy that we have Vic Fangio because that's the reason why this happened. We don't get Fangio, we probably stay in the 4-3. We stay in the 4-3, Reddick stays here, more than likely, at least for this season. But because this is the decision that they made, this is a guy that they've been after for years, this just says to me, if we had gotten Fangio last year, Reddick might have been out of here last year. Because the organizational decisions that they make affect the players. It affects who they look at that can stay and who they look at to go. So when you made this move, you were kind of already saying there's certain guys that are going to be out of here. It's between this guy and that guy, or both of them are going to be out of here. I think one thing about the Eagles is we can all agree the level of loyalty to players may not always be where it should be.
No, of course not.
Because it's always about the dollars.
Yes.
And that's why I always felt like Reddick was going to be gone because of these things, not because the player himself should be gone. Now, I do feel like if you're going to be a linebacker in the NFL, you should at least work on over the years being solid at coverage, being solid at tackling, right? You should be to have that versatility because if you want to get paid like a guy who can do all those things, you have to be able to do all those things. And to me, that's the part where I look at Reddick and say, bro, you could have done that. You had enough years in the league where you could have done that. You could have gotten decent. I'm not saying you had to be great, but you could at least be not a liability. I mean, this man was out here tripping over his own feet in coverage last year. So there's a responsibility to him too to say, okay, I see where the league's going. I see where things is going. Let me at least be decent at these things, even though this is my primary focus. And the player didn't do that part either. Like I said, Fangio was the turning point. They made a decision to bring him in. That was the turning point. If that didn't happen, I think we still, at least for this year, have him. I don't think we would have re-signed him, but we would have kept the cap hit. So we would have had that 15. I think because his actual salary is over 15, but because of the trade, we're saving like 14 and a half. Out of the, I think it's like almost 16, but we're saving 14 and a half. I'd have to relook at the numbers to be exact. But I think the big thing for me is it's tough. I hate when people pop up on you, right, like when you're in the middle of something, right? Like you haven't heard somebody in forever, and then they pop up on you in the middle of doing the show. But yeah, side story. But I'm excited on what I think we can do next year. This season coming up, I'm excited on what I think we can do. We will need to obviously make some more moves in the draft, as well as through free agency. It'll be more just grabbing who fits what we want to do, the scheme and everything, more so than a specific guy, and us putting everything into one guy, which is what I think they want to get away from as well, because that does make the person more valuable, and you know how they feel about paying guys, unfortunately. All right, so any other thoughts on Hassan Reddick before we move on to the next topic?
No, I don't want to talk about it no more.
I
don't want to talk about it no more.
Howie better hit in the draft or make some dope moves here going forward. Make up for it.
I mean, we need depth. I mean, because if you, like I said, Nolan Smith is injury prone, and you can't count on Josh Sweat, so you need some depth.
Yeah.
So, good segue into our next thing. But before we head there, we're going to have a couple of commercials here, guys. And then we're going to pop back, and we are going to discuss draft needs for the defense.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Monday at 3:05 p.m. Eastern, 2:05 p.m. Central. Exclusively on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool. Join Ryan McCarthy.
I became a Jets fan because Kermit the Frog was my favorite Muppet because he was green, and the Jets wore green. That's how I became a Jets fan.
And Dustin Henry.
ESPN is cashing all in on let's pay a few personalities and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps,
as they walk you through all of the world of sports from their perspective.
The Albany Empire, it's a literal circus.
No credentials required. Where, Ryan, say the tag.
Where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. On YouTube and where you can find all podcasts. Rams fans all around the world.
It's a beautiful thing to be a Rams fan right now. Stafford's back. We will see about Cup. And running back Kerryon Williams to return.
Lend me your ears, or should I say lend Playmaker your ears, as he breaks down week by week everything in the Los Angeles Rams canon.
Number 99, Aaron Donald. Can't wait for 2029 to come to know that you are going in the Hall of Fame, and it should be first ballot, no questions asked.
Join the Playmaker as he breaks down everything Los Angeles Rams style in Ramily Talk on the Playmakers Blog Network YouTube channel and where you can find podcasts.
All right, good people, we have returned. And now it's time. So we obviously feel like, at least you guys feel like, we need to go out and get a guy to replace Reddick's production. I think you do that as a group. You don't depend on one guy. So let's start with outside linebacker. All right. So do you guys think we need to go out and draft someone at the outside linebacker position, right, left side? And if so, I want to ask a specific player. We'll save that for the show before the draft. But what type of player would you like that to be?
Who's out there now?
This is it for the draft.
Like who's our outside linebackers now?
Our outside linebackers now are Bryce Huff is your starting left outside linebacker, and Josh Sweat is the starting right outside linebacker as of now.
Yeah, I think we need to go get a versatile player, a hard hitting heavy player, somebody that can stay healthy. But I think we definitely need to get some depth, because I think last year that was a lot of our problem. We didn't have depth on the defense at all.
What your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think we should go out and get an outside linebacker, because if you look after Bryce Huff and Josh Sweat there, you got Nolan Smith and you got Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham, obviously, it's his last year. You may want somebody to kind of fill into that role there, get him up to par and get him training over the past next year. Maybe get him some snaps here and there through a rotation. That way, when Brandon Graham is retired, he is going to be that next guy up going through the next couple seasons. So you're going to want a versatile player there as well.
Yeah, I definitely think we want a versatile outside linebacker. You make a good point about Brandon Graham. I also think that Josh Sweat probably won't be back with his team after this year.
Okay.
So I think you'll be looking at, if we were looking right now, you'll be losing one of the, as of now, starters. I don't know if he'll be a starter by the time the season starts. And if he is a starter, he'll probably still be in a rotation. I think what we're trying to do is do what we did last year with 2 years ago when we were in the Super Bowl with the defensive line, and have 8 or 9 guys that are in a rotation playing linebacker, so that you can help keep them fresh, because they're going to have so many responsibilities. Right? A lot of times when teams have a 3-4, they do have 9-10 linebackers that they carry. Sometimes they carry somebody that's like a safety that can play both, but you need that because they're asked to do a lot. Like I said, they're asked to do kind of pretty much everything. So you have to have enough guys at the linebacker positions that can kind of fill in and be fresh and have a rotation there. Still going to need it for the defensive line as well, but we will talk about that next week when we talk about the offensive line and defensive line. I do think that the person or persons that we draft need to have versatility. I wouldn't mind drafting somebody late. I wouldn't mind drafting 2 people at linebacker, one early in the first or second day, and one late, or somebody that we sign as an unrestricted free agent, well, undrafted free agent. I wouldn't mind that either, but I do think more depth, at least for training camp, is needed, and some youth. The only thing is you got to kind of play it with the youth too, because you don't want to have 2-3 guys that are all going to be coming up for contracts within 2 years of each other. So you got to kind of, you know what I'm saying? You got to kind of play that too, because you already have some other guys that are going to be coming up, near the same thing. But I think that definitely versatile guys. I won't want them to be more of a all-around player, right? So somebody who can hit, he can tackle, really good at everything, but not great at anything. And one guy I want to be good at everything, but great at one thing. I wouldn't be upset if that one thing is either pass defense or sacks. Well, actually, probably pass defense and run tackling, and staying disciplined in their gaps. That's what I think we need at the outside linebacker positions, because if you allow those guys, if they can't stay disciplined and those gaps get open, we gashed. So we got a couple of comments here. We're gonna get to real quick. So Benny says, don't underestimate Howie. He can make a big splash in the next few weeks. Josh Allen of Jacksonville don't have a new deal yet. Imagine Howie making a trade for him. Anything can happen. That's fair, Benny.
Yeah,
Oh man,
I mean, you're going to end up paying him too if you trade for him. But he can do a little bit more than Hassan Reddick can, though.
Old man Mob is in the building. Old man says, you already know I had to hit that like button to show my brother some love. How we doing tonight? What's going on? Old man, appreciate you.
Appreciate that.
Says, yeah, this draft class has some good late round pass rushers. This draft is filled with wide receiver, tackle, and pass rushers. This is very true. This is very true. It's just a matter of if we're going to put the time into him. Keep an eye out for Zion, Tupelo, Fatui in the draft later round. He would be perfect for the Eagles. I actually agree with that guy. I've actually been paying some attention to him because when I was talking about a guy that can do really good at everything but not great at anything, that's one of the guys that was coming to mind. Look at old man Miles with the football knowledge up in this piece. All right, guys. So inside linebacker. So at inside linebacker right now, the starters are Nakobe Dean and Devin White. Zach Bond and Oren Burks are the backups. Behind them, you have Brandon Smith and Ben Van Summeren. To be honest, I would be okay if we didn't draft an inside linebacker.
Yeah.
I would be okay if we didn't. Even if we lose one or two of these guys after this year, I would be okay if we didn't draft the inside linebacker this year. Because, again, I feel like as strong as we are at safety, right, and nickel cornerback, we could have a guy like CJ GJ go in and play inside linebacker if needed, right? Because he can do everything an inside linebacker needs to be able to do in a 4-3. So, I mean, 3-4. We have some guys that have a little versatility. So I'd be okay with saying I'm good inside linebacker. If you want to draft a guy later, sign somebody just because you feel like he may be better than what you have. But I like to get a good look at Ben Van Summeren getting some time as well to see what we have there. Benny says, yes, he's young, but he fit the scheme. Yeah, he can grow, Benny. We need people that can grow. And, of course, he's talking about Zion, Tupelo, Fatui.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think we're all in agreement. We're good with inside linebacker. We're okay where we're at?
Yeah, it's just a huge question mark, I feel. This is something you can definitely address, like you said, next season. Because, I mean, three of those guys were free agents we picked up, Devin White, Oren Burks, and Zach Bond. And then you still haven't really had a full season of Nakobe Dean to see what he is. I mean, he has to grow as a player like you were just talking about as well. So
Yeah.
I think this season would answer a lot of questions about that position. That way you could possibly address it going into next year.
All right, then we'll do strong and free safety together because obviously on our team, you play both. It's not as some teams is really defined, but on our team, you really can play both. So as our starting safeties, at strong safety, we have Sidney Brown. At free safety, we have Reed Blankenship. Shout out to Reed. He just got him some new coins. Feel that coin purse up a little bit better. And then behind, oh yeah, absolutely. Behind Sidney Brown, we have Mekhi Gardner. And then right now behind Reed Blankenship, we have Tristan McCollum. For me, I would say we need a safety. I would be good if we draft one guy that has versatility.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody that can play strong or free safety. I would be comfortable with drafting somebody to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, because we only extended Reed for a year anyway. Yeah, I would. Yeah, and Sydney, of course, we don't know if he's gonna come back first game. It's gonna be a couple of games, but
right. I think we're gonna see Chauncey play a lot at safety too. I think we're gonna see Chauncey at safety. So even though he's listed somewhere else, I think we're gonna see him at safety.
Yeah.
All right.
Same.
And
there's also another guy out there in free agency we should probably go out and try to get too.
There is. We'll talk about that in a few minutes too. All right,
I know, that's why I was trying to name drop him.
So
Stay
cornerback,
tuned.
left corner, right corner slot. We'll just slap them all together. So Benny says Dean is too small. I don't know if he can stay on the field. That is a concern. I like the way he plays, but He's got to play himself out of the injury-prone guy. We can't be street clothes Nakobe. We can't have that.
Nope.
We can't. I mean, it's only 1 year, so I'm not gonna ride a guy in the ground over 1 year. But I'm just saying we can't have that be a consistent pattern.
No, my man got hurt twice in a year.
He did get hurt twice in 1 year, but still only 1 year. And I think one injury caused the other one. But we can't have it every year. Like we can't. All right, and then so at cornerback, left corner starter is Darius Slay. His backup is Keely Ringo, and his backup is Zach McPherson. At right corner, it's James Bradbury, Eli Ricks, and Josh Jobe. So basically, at right corner, we have one corner, and that's Eli.
One
Ricks.
corner. One corner. We got to draft on the right side.
And nickel, we have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Tyler Hall, and Mario Goodrich.
Mm-hmm. We also have Isaiah Rodgers. He isn't listed on the depth chart because he isn't active as of yet.
Yeah, we can't count him until they reinstate him. He hasn't been reinstated.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So as of now, he's now on the team because he got to be reinstated. So we're waiting on Roger Goodell to reinstate him. But as of now, that's what we have.
Well, we need some help on that right side, real bad, real bad. Because I'm still trying to figure out why Josh Jobe is still on the team.
That's the thing. We have guys on the left that could be playing on the right. McPherson is better than anybody on the right. As long as he comes back and is the same player. He's coming back off an injury, season-long injury, so he may not be the same player. But if he's the same player, he's way better than Jobe, right? Bradbury's at the point. If you're going to keep Bradbury at this point, which I personally think, we should trade him too.
Yeah.
But if you're going to keep him, you got to rotate him. But I think the problem with Bradbury is the way his contract is we would still take like a big hit even if we traded him. And you know how he's not about to give up a player and then have a big cap hit he's eating, unless it's like somebody that's just garbage like Trashton Wentz turned out being because he's too soft mentally. But anybody else, he ain't really do that.
They're banking off that new defense and the linebackers and safety kind of helping them out a little bit more. Maybe that'll kind of take a little less responsibility off his plate.
Agreed. So do you guys think we should draft somebody or just maybe move around the piece we have or both? What are you guys' thoughts?
I mean, I think this year we could probably move the pieces around that we have. But maybe next year, maybe draft or bring somebody in. Hopefully we trade Bradbury next year and we can go ahead and take care of that with the trade. But other than that, we're gonna have to move some pieces around on that right side. For real.
Yeah,
I'm down with both. Oh, go ahead, man.
Eli Ricks, I think he could be you good. I think he could be a good complimentary piece thrown with Bradbury, but I want Jobe about that. I don't know if it's just my personal, gripes with watching him, because there's some games where I will admit I went back and watched just so I could see what he did, and I was like, this made me matter. So that could be part of it, right? Yeah, that could be part of it. But what were you saying, Wyatt? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I'm cool with both drafting someone and also kind of shuffling some pieces around. Because it seems like we always have some injuries with the corners. We have some bad luck with corners. Also drafting corners. So it's like you don't even know if the guy you pick is gonna hit or not. I mean, I do really like Kelly Ringo. I like Eli Ricks. I just think that we didn't get to see them enough last year. They weren't given enough of an opportunity until it was too late in the season. I would like to see those guys more, whether they're kind of rotated in or out. But I definitely think we should be drafting a piece because it's who knows how many years Slay has left. If who knows if this is his last one as an Eagle. Bradbury, hopefully he's gone, but I don't know. It seems like how he's talking like he's going to be here for the season, but hopefully that can change. I definitely think we should be going out and trying to get a versatile guy, maybe a top tier type of guy, because it seems like when we try to dip into the later rounds for a cornerback, it never works out.
Yeah, I am scared of us because of how we historically do with quarterbacks, of us drafting a guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping that maybe with Vic in there, he's more of a veteran coach. Maybe he can change some of those things. But yeah, our history of drafting cornerbacks has not been a pretty thing, because we've had some guys that have gone on to be really good other places, but they stunk here, or they didn't get opportunities here, or both.
Yeah.
So hopefully that changes. But again, I have to go back to this, and I apologize because I need to be better, but I just can't be better. Nick Sirianni, the lapdog, is still the coach, which means that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman are still getting things done the way that they want to get them done. Right? Make no mistake about it. This whole Reddick thing, that was from the top, because Nick Sirianni is a lapdog and he does what he's told to do. He doesn't come up with his own original ideas anymore. Because if he did come up with original ideas, he would have been fired.
You have to start watching him during press conferences and seeing if he's reading like notes off his hand that he wrote down that someone told him to tell.
Well, you know, you can only do that one time, because somebody be John Cena, like John Cena did the Rock when he had his stuff rolling his arm, and they'll call him out on it. They make him practice it like 3 or 4 times. Him and Big Dom.
I mean, I don't know why
he's stuttering all the time because he's
That's
trying
what
to
I'm saying. All he
remember
do
what they
is
told him to
stutter.
say.
I mean, all he do is stutter. You can't never get a whole. You don't never understand what Nick is trying to say, because that mug will run you around in a darn circle like 45,000 times. You be like, what was that?
That's why he goes on these tangents, because he's trying to remember what they told him to say.
Question.
Right. And you don't know what he was trying to say. At the end of the day, you're like, well, what did he say again?
Absolutely nothing. You know why he doesn't say anything? Because he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
He
If he doesn't know what he's talking about, how can anybody else know what he's talking about? That's what I'm saying. So, good people, we've got a couple more things that we're going to be covering for you tonight. We're going to be talking about any free agents that you want to add to the team pre-draft. That's going to be right after this next commercial break. So stay tuned and let's get it.
This is Brett, and you're watching Shady Sports Network. Tune in, hit that like button.
You might wonder, what do these guys do? Player signing announcements. I never in a million years thought you would actually come on to break this news. So without further ado, go ahead and tell everybody what happened today.
Yeah, man. I just had to work out with the Cincinnati Bengals. Signing me right up.
Without further ado, I'd like to announce that, I'll be taking my talents to Salina Liberty.
This just in, the Major League of Football is reportedly collapsing, unable to pay hotel room bills, with players being kicked out of their rooms and hotel managers asking them to leave voluntarily without issue.
Whether it's the men's college game,
The way that this season has been going, anything is possible.
the women's college game,
And how passionate Angel Reese was at that press conference, they got their mojo now.
the WNBA,
AJ Wilson on Twitter 1 and 2, followed by Brittany Griner, Aaliyah Boston, Jackie Young.
or the NBA.
The Lakers had a 0.8 chance of winning. And then what happened in the fourth quarter? LeBron James by himself outdid the Clippers.
You will get any and all of the information right at your fingertips or your earlobes. Join the Playmaker as he breaks down all things basketball in Shooting Lights Out on the Playmakers blog, network, YouTube channel, and where you can find podcasts.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids from the Block, New Edition,
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
All right, and good people, we are back. We've got a few more commercials, so we'll have one more commercial break. And I want to give everybody a tease. We have another new commercial that's premiering tonight that I think people might enjoy. At least I know I enjoy. So, yeah, check that out. But before we get into that, players that are still available that you guys would like to have as Philadelphia Eagles before the draft. And the reason why I specify before the draft is we don't know what we're going to do in the draft, but what we do before the draft will kind of help us decide what we're going to do at the draft. So if we go out and get a certain safety that Wyatt's talking about, then we make him mark safety off of a position of need for the draft and use that pick on maybe another defensive lineman another wide receiver, backup offensive lineman. You can go some different ways. So, Diva, any players that are still available that you would like to have on the squad right now?
Oh, I want Simmons. I like to have Simmons.
There's not a person here that doesn't want Simmons. I agree. Anybody else you'd like to have, Wyatt?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, numero uno, Justin Simmons. The other one I had here was cornerback, in case we maybe wanted to go a cornerback in the later rounds. Hopefully not. And that is Akello Witherspoon. Played for the Rams. He does play nickel. He has played nickel, which is, I would say, a position of need for us. I mean, they have CJ marked as the nickel CB right now. Like Cool said a little bit earlier, I can expect him to play more safety throughout the season. We also do have Tyler Hall in there as well, who we picked up from the Raiders, I think he's going to be doing well for us as well. Witherspoon is a veteran. I don't know if he would be a starter per se, like maybe Tyler Hall would beat him out, but he would be a good veteran presence to have at that position. In case maybe you didn't want to bring like Maddox back on a return deal because of how injury prone he is or something like that. I think that would be a decent signing.
I agree. I'm gonna hit y'all with one that's a little wild, but if you think about it, it will work. I would like to sign Michael Gallup. I want more wide receivers. Okay. I want a guy that we could bring in. It's not gonna cost a lot. It's gonna be more like a reclamation project, like maybe a year or two. That wants to come in, play where he can be a fourth or fifth receiver, and still be productive and still add to the offense, right? Good size. He's a year removed from the injury, which the injury is a big reason why the Cowboys moved on from him. But I think he could bring us quality later on down the depth chart as a backup to one of our, 3 starters. I think he would be a good person to have for that role.
I mean, I
don't care that it was in Dallas. It's just about what he can do.
So I can see that working out.
Yeah, and then he does have that history with Kellen Moore, so he would be able to help maybe get some of the guys that may not be grasping the differences in the playbook quickly a little bit more up to speed because he does have the history. So I always want a wide receiver, y'all. We could have like the best 4 wide receivers in the league, but we need a 5th. I just had this thing about wide receivers. Yeah, because I mean they get hurt, right? Or they find out ways to kind of take them out of certain games, right? And you just got to have the other guys. So I'm always like, let's get another wide receiver, right? And then we started talking about running back. We got Saquon, but we're always concerned with Saquon's health. So J.K. Dobbins would not be a bad pickup as well.
I want another running back.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins wouldn't be a bad pickup either. Because I'm hoping Saquon proves my concerns wrong. I'm sure y'all have the same concerns. It's not the player necessarily. Like, I don't like the money, but it feels like we got a little extra money because of some of the stuff that happened. Like, because you think about, we got almost $40 million out of 2 retirements and in the trade with Hassan Reddick. Kelsey, we got his money back because he retired. Then we got Fletcher Cox money back because he retired. So we got a lot of money that came back to us because certain guys who have been around long enough to where they're going to get that love irregardless. We're kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm 100% down to get another running back. I think we need one.
We need
can't
one.
just have Kenny Gainwell back there.
No,
I was not impressed with the training video he put out.
He needs to be the third.
I'm not impressed with anything that he does. It doesn't impress me. Then we have Lou Nichols and Tyron Davis Price as the other 2. So someone tried to tell me, I can't remember who it was, that Tyron Davis Price could be really good for us. And he was with the 49ers and, he runs hard and blah, blah, blah. And I only had one response for them. Why is he not a 49er then?
Right.
We know how they have running back issues. They run 17 running backs in one game. So why is he not with them?
The same thing with Trey Sermon when they had him.
But see, the thing with Trey Sermon is, I felt like if we gave him half a chance, he would have been good.
Listen,
we gave him a chance.
I mean, we saw all he could do during preseason and whatnot.
Instead, we want to get about a kid of Gainwell who does a Gainwell. Now Trey Sermon's off on somebody else's team, getting an opportunity to probably be like a 3rd running back and being a big goal line back and showing people,
which we need.
Backs. And for some reason, they smaller running backs.
But if you think about it, that's how you won the Super Bowl, because you had Garion Blunt and you had Ajayi. Like, make it make sense.
The blueprint was there.
That was an anomaly in Howie's mind.
Apparently. He even had the blueprint in 2022, and they still couldn't follow that in 2023.
Well, guess not when you had stupid Sirianni running everything, thought he knew everything. I guess that's what happens.
My boy, old silly Siriannis. Man.
Nicky Tight Pants.
The things that we could go into talking about the silly one himself. But we're not even going to soil our positivity with such talk. But guys, any other free agents do you guys think we could add before the draft? Lost it for a minute. Now I didn't get no sleep. I lost it for a minute.
I had one. I don't remember where it went. Quan Alexander.
Okay.
The linebacker.
Never hurts to have more linebackers. Never hurts.
No. I feel like as far as linebackers go, you need all the depth, especially if they got a more of a bigger role this year. You need all the depth you can get. Just keep rotating them out.
Yeah.
That's why I said, like, that was the biggest thing for me that I knew that we was going to move to that 3-4 is when he started signing linebackers. I'm like, oh, we definitely going 3-4 if he signed linebackers. So, you know, how do you care about the linebackers?
Yeah, Howie didn't, but you ain't had no choice.
Exactly.
If you want to go to that 3-4, you ain't got no choice but to sign linebackers. And he saw how important they were in the Super Bowl and the playoffs, because that's all you see all over the field was linebackers.
Exactly. Well, maybe we should pay more attention to that position.
You got to satiate Vic. Because Vic will run that offense to slap somebody.
Yeah, he will.
You know what I'm saying?
It was crazy.
We
had like
you don't play that.
A decent linebacking core at one point, and then they just let him walk for nothing.
Howie the linebackers.
Yeah.
You know, you remember back when he would pay linebackers over about $6-7 million a year, and they was like, nah, bro, we go somewhere else and make that. Make more than that.
I would totally
Howie
get
them.
TJ Edwards.
I know Corey Clement said he wouldn't mind being an Eagle again. I wouldn't mind having Corey Clement back either.
Yeah, but then he'd have to be our fourth running back.
I wouldn't mind having him back.
And are we gonna really trust this team who don't care about nobody but Kenneth Gainwell?
Well, we're gonna see what Kenneth Gainwell gonna get you. Because if Saquon get hurt, what's gonna happen?
Screwed.
We're not gonna Gainwell.
We ain't gonna have no running game. Only person gonna be running is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts got to play two positions.
Yeah.
And then we know what's gonna happen if he start playing two positions. He's gonna get beat up again, and then they're gonna be talking about how he's not as good as he was. And it's like, bro, he can't even throw off his leg. He's throwing off one leg. What do you mean?
I don't know, man.
Digression.
I mean, really.
Like, yo, it's crazy. Some of the things that we just have to deal with as fans is crazy. Just, I mean, not just our team, teams in general. Like, you look at it, you say, bro, why would you just not do this? And the team is like, whatever. You know,
and you want to go back to win the Super Bowl, but you're not making the moves to secure that.
Yeah.
And to that point, very good comment here by Biddy. Then he says, look at the end of the day, it's not a Philly thing, it's a Howie vision. We're all just living in it.
Facts.
I think the only time he wasn't living in is when he got demoted for Chip Kelly, and I don't know what was going on with that. I was surprised that even happened.
That was the biggest argument for why we need Howie. Chip Kelly running stuff.
Way things are going. Howie gonna be here until the day he dies. There's no way he's ever leaving this organization as long as Lurie runs it.
At least until Jeff dies.
Exactly.
Right.
At least until Jeffrey Lurie's out of the picture. Howie's always gonna be here.
Yeah. So we can start with the hashtag Fire Howie Roseman because he's plugged in for life. He got a lifelong contract.
He do. Probably even after Jeff die. I mean, Jeff's son gonna be running it after that.
Like,
so Howie just get old.
Look, Howie like, hey, you got to honor your dad's contract. Look there.
Howie got dirt on the whole Lurie family.
We stuck with Howie until that mug get old. You hear me?
He'll tell Jeff's son, remember when you were 15 and that thing happened?
It's unprecedented in the NFL. Howie Roseman outlasted like 20 head coaches and 3 owners.
Hey, he's already outlasted, 4?
4, yeah.
Which is more than anybody else. It almost was 5.
It's nuts.
But all the lap dog had to do was go in there and give him the puppy eyes.
Well, Howie likes
Okay.
Stilla Sirianni too. So
Well,
I mean, he really
silly.
rushed. Right. So, he rushed in and saved him.
Yeah. Yes, he did. All right, y'all. We got one more topic, a couple more commercials. We'll drop this last topic, and then we're gonna be out.
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze god.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to I can beat up black people.
As he takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, No, Pacific time zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Poppy J and Wise El Jefe, Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening. Cool McCain.
You thought you wanted Gunther against Chad Gable, but you didn't. And I'm going to tell you why. Chad Gable would take everything that Gunther's done and bury it.
The Playmaker.
It was on site. AJ Styles walked out there, seen LA like, oh, okay, nigga, LA Knight hopped out the car, let's go.
Break down everything in TNA, AEW, and all of the WWE programming. Join these two kings, monarchs of wrestling, live every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central on the Play Caller Sports Talk YouTube channel.
All right, guys. So we're back to kind of pull a bow on things for the evening. But we got a great discussion before we do put that bow on. What current defensive players do we expect to step up more, need to step up more this coming season? I know there's going to be a lot of people in this, so I want to save this one for last. We might could just go down the whole roster with this one.
Yeah,
the whole damn team.
The whole damn team. You hear me?
So on the defensive side of the ball, I'm gonna start. Can't take everybody because there's too many options. But I think we need a resurgence for James Bradbury. We need to feel like he deserves to still be here. And we need Darius Slay to stop going on social media every Monday or Tuesday.
Talk about how good he played.
Talk about how good he played.
I mean, he played well. He did play well, but yeah, Bradbury.
Not a good look.
But yeah, we get tired here. It's like, well, yeah, man, I want to make sure I can see my kids grow, man. What? Slay? Just get out there and hit, nigga. That's all you gotta
do. Retire if you want to do that. What are you doing here for?
I want to play my kid girl. You know what I'm saying? I want to play my kid. What?
And if Josh Jobe gonna be on the team, he need to be 10 times better this year.
Strictly special teams. I don't want to see this man out on the field during defense.
Josh Jobe needs to be in the UFL. In the building, says it's like asking me to not drink my yak.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Touche. Touche Jackson for that one. Touche Jackson. All right, Wyatt, who you want to start with? Because I know you got more than a couple people. Who you want to start with?
Yeah, I'll start. I'm gonna start with a bull we talked about already, Nakobe Dean. Not only does it got to show us that he can stay healthy a whole season or most of a whole season, he's got to show us a little bit more out there as well, as far as tackling, just commanding the field, being that leader that they want him to be on the defensive side.
Josh Jobe, if he's still on the team, Josh Jobe, because I don't even know why he's still there. Bradbury is always my first, because y'all know I've been on Ballberry all season. But Cool took him first. So definitely Josh Jobe, because I still don't understand why that everybody they talked about everybody on the defense besides Josh Jobe flew up under that radar. I don't know how, but besides on here, he flew up under that radar. Man, if you're gonna be on that field, if you're gonna be on the field for 2 or 3 steps, you better be out there balling. And I mean balling, not just
like what he put on a tape in practice. I mean, what else is there to say?
Yeah, he likes the great game he had against the third string. You know what I'm saying? That same game where your boy was where your boy talking all the smack about how he was catching all the passes. Josh Jobe was out there hype playing against the same players on the on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, Josh Jobe. I mean, I can't argue with that. So there's so many more guys, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just say the whole 3 starting defensive front: Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter. And I'm gonna say Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis will be better. I'm gonna tell you why. Y'all spend a lot of salt on their names that y'all are getting me in high blood pressure, right? But what y'all need to understand, Jalen Carter was a first-year player. You're going to hit a wall. In college, you're playing 12, 13 games, right?
Yeah.
And you're not playing against the same level of talent. You're not playing the same amount of time. Jordan Davis, this was his second year. But what happened for half of his first year? Oh, he was out hurt. Stayed healthy this year. But he hit pretty much that rookie wall because he didn't get that full first season in. So these are guys who are going to go iron sharp as iron. I'm sure they're somewhere training together, right? They're going to go and they're going to get themselves better and more prepared. So they're going to be better, I believe, this season. And they now understand a different defense, what they need to be able to do, what they're expected to do. There's going to be less expected, but they're not going to be expected to get as many sacks. They're expected to get some, right? Because you do some stunts where you'll send other people. But the main thing for them is securing that line, ensuring that you're not letting guys get through, and ensuring that you're putting enough pressure on the quarterback where you still got to make quick decisions. They're going to be able to do those things this year. Milton Williams at the defensive end position, I'm going to need to see something from you, big dog. It's time.
Yeah. Consistently, I feel like he's been getting better year in and year out. It's just now it's his time. It's his job to lose.
Time to show up. I mean, as far as Davis and Carter go, I mean, the first whole half of the season they played well, but we also got to think about the change in the coaching that had a lot to do with it as well. And then on top of them boys playing all game, them boys didn't come out. Jordan Davis especially wasn't used to that. I mean, because he played minimal last year and then he was hurt. So he's not used to playing all the whole game, not really coming out. Like we had no rotation at all. So for everybody to spit fire on their name, I'm telling you, they're going to show up and they're going to show out. And you're going to see that you shouldn't have said what you said because it really had a lot to do. They did well up under, what's his name? But then as soon as Matt Patricia came in there, like the whole defense fell apart. So we're not just going to sit there and act like they just wasn't anything the whole beginning of the year because they were a lot, especially Davis and Carter, especially Carter. So yeah.
Playing. They're able to hit the wall either way, right? Because of how much they were playing. They played a lot. And I think when you play like that, when you're not used to it, you're gonna hit a wall. So Unc says Jobe is better than McPherson, though. Unc, I'm gonna tell you, man. That is not a popular opinion on this show, sir.
I
to me, you are better cunner than Josh Jobe.
No, I can't agree with you on that, Unc. Not at all. Not at all.
And then Unc says D-line rotation sucked last season too, though. And you
It
are
did.
correct. You are
And
correct.
they were out there way more than they should have been because the offense wasn't producing.
That's another thing. That is another thing.
Yep. Absolutely. So we got a little bit more time. Anybody else y'all can think of? Because I can think of a few more people.
Yeah, I mean, we'd already talked about him already. Nolan Smith. I mean, with this new defense, we already talked about they're going to be looking to go to him more often in that rotation. He's going to get a lot more playing time than what he was accustomed to this past season. I mean, we've seen some glimpses and some good plays from him, but he's really got to step up this season to show why we drafted him in the first place.
Reed Blankenship. I love Reed Blankenship, but it was some of them plays, boy. My boy got burnt. He didn't know who he was supposed to be covering. He was under coverage. So you got them coins this year, Reed. Like you better know your routes and know who you got to cover for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of times you was out there looking confused, like you ain't know who you're supposed to cover, and then the person you're supposed to cover, they ain't got a touchdown. Boy, please make sure you know he's.
I love the physicality and the aggressiveness that he has, but it can also be a detriment to his game as well.
Yeah. It's like he overthinks things a lot.
Yeah.
So two other people I got. I dig y'all. Two other people I got. They're going to forever be linked with Hassan Reddick in the minds of Philadelphia Eagles fans everywhere. That's Bryce Huff at left outside linebacker, and that's Josh Sweat at right outside linebacker. So, gentlemen, what y'all got to do is y'all got to go out there, play your game, but stats have to be there, right? These two people on this show with me, and they're not wrong for this, but they're going to be looking at y'all like, what they putting out? How many people they sacking? Okay, they don't have the sacks. Are they getting tackles for losses because they're supposed to be better at tackling? Are they getting pass breakups? Are they affecting plays? Are they being disciplined in their gaps? These are all things that these two people, as well as plenty of other people, I'm not saying I'm not either, but I'm saying y'all know how they feel about this whole situation with Reddick. So they're gonna be watching y'all.
Especially Sweat. Huff might get a pass, but Sweat, you get no pass. So you better be out there.
You've been here long enough.
Been here long enough. Last year you went 10 games with not one sack. So I don't even know what you was doing on the field, my boy.
You had
but
to
I know
interviews
this.
Talk about I had so many almost sacks and such.
No, we don't need almost. We need to see what you did.
It's a horseshoes, Pippa.
2022 season.
Right?
If we ain't getting that production, boy, I'm gonna be on you like right on rice. I'm gonna be on you.
Like black on the kettle.
Like Cool said, this may be your one last year with us, and then you gone.
So you got to come out and show us. But Huff too, we put a lot of faith in what we've been told that the way that you play can project to being a guy that can have a bigger role, but you just weren't able to on the specific team you're on. Okay. Talk is cheap. Like my man X say, talk is cheap.
Get out
I ain't
there
gonna say the other word.
boy. Y'all better get out there and perform now.
He said like rock there for a minute. Perform, boy.
Come on, boy. Dang on it now. I'm saying. We watching y'all. We here.
We taking notes.
Y'all, if you play outside linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles, you better play good this year.
You better.
All eyes on you.
All eyes are on y'all for sure. Because even people like me to understand the move are still like, all right, then you got to show us that that's the move because we're being told that this is why. So you better be able to show us that this is why.
So we'll be watching the other side too. What's Hassan doing over there in New York?
I
don't even have
going on over there.
Hassan is going to get to play the right amount of snaps. He going to have sacks over there. I'm not even doubting that.
Right.
I would be way more surprised if he doesn't.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not one of the people that because he's going, I'm gonna try to act like he didn't do a lot for the team. But unfortunately, we got Vic, stuff switched, and now we're here.
And we shall see how this works. We just gotta see how Vic gonna work anyway. Because what I heard, them boys in Miami did not like him. So we just gotta see.
Miami's a different city. I'm a Hurricanes fan.
Yeah.
Miami's a different city. Like you ain't going to Miami like trying to be no disciplinarian. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I heard is that he was a hard ass and he wanted they weren't into his kind of work ethic that he was trying to put on defense.
They did him like they did Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
You know.
But see, here we have a lot of younger guys, so I think that may be good initially, right? Because a lot of those OGs on defense, they go be up out of here. Like we just lost one. We about to use Brandon Graham. You know, some of these other guys. So I think this is going to be a younger team in the next few years. So they're going to need that coach that brings that. But like last year, I don't think Fangio would have worked here either last year. Too many vets.
Yeah, possibly.
We shall see. We shall see.
And then my boy CJ GJ said, I want to be a leader. I'm here to make the team better. This is the best version of me.
My boy said he didn't matured. My boy said it's beyond me. It's bigger.
Been a long ass year for CJGJ. He's went through some change.
Oh, y'all see Keely out there working? No. That boy out there looking good.
He working. That's why I said I ain't worried about. That's why I said.
Job.
That's why I said.
Stupid.
He even said it too. I'm coming out for Ballberry's job.
Hey man, if he get demoted, bro, they gotta trade him.
You have to, right?
If he can't be the number one corner, you gotta trade or cut him.
If you can even find a trade for him.
That's why I threw it or cut him.
Right.
You see, I missed it the first time, but I slid it in the second
worse
time.
though. Ronald Darby's still on teams as of right now. I'm sure somebody would take Bradbury.
Well, here's the thing. Darby looked better without here. Y'all know Steven Nelson. Steven Nelson looked like a quality cornerback in Houston.
Well, Steven Nelson,
he can handle Philly.
He could mentally handle Philly. But Darby ain't look too bad when he was just.
It's that after he got hurt, he just never was the same again for us.
That's it. Yeah. Before then, Darby was a beast.
But that's when I told y'all that my boy should have been playing, but they ran him off, and now he over there at Green Bay putting up quality numbers.
You talking about Rasul?
Yeah, I said.
He's on the Bills now.
Oh
Listen, I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know why.
Never let that dude go.
I don't know why.
Drafted him. Darby got hurt, and he had to come in. I was like, he needs to stay on that field.
Listen,
I didn't find something else for Darby to do. He needs to stay on that field.
Dude was the truth.
Listen, Rasul Douglas was a beat. Listen, I don't understand that move either, man. It's just like the Brian Dawkins move.
They kept Sidney Jones,
and then he sucked, and then he went on and was good at Jacksonville for a few years.
Yeah, good for them. And like the Panthers, I think he was on for a year or so.
But once you go to the Panthers, I just stop paying attention to you because that's where players go to die. That's
Miles Sanders. That's what I said about Jadeveon Clowney. I said, "Oh, well, this is the last of him. Then this is last
for him again.
This is it for you, buddy.
2 more years might be all you have left, my friend.
I'm sorry,
that's it, buddy.
You'll sell a good amount of jerseys, but that's about it, my buddy.
That's it. You can be doing nothing else. Not with that owner over there. Woo.
Jeez.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening on 502 Radio, thank you for listening. Make sure that you hop on youtube.com/@Eagles Elite Podcast. You can join us there. If you're watching us on Shady Sports, make sure you slide over and check us out on Eagles Elite. If you're watching on my Facebook page, make sure you also go to youtube.com/@Eagles Elite Podcast. And make
smash
sure you
that that share, and
most importantly, that sub button for your peoples.
Yes.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. Special shout out to Love when coming. Always late, but always on time.
Always on time.
Y'all know what I mean by that. If you know, you know.
Shout out to Benny for always supporting and sending us fresh gear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Benny, boom.
You missed our shout out for Benny earlier. You missed it. Shout out to Old Man Mob.
Man Mob. We always showing love. Old Man Mob. Philly. She been running. Always.
She be lurking back there. We can't get too many comments out of her, but she be lurking. We be knowing. We be seeing. All right. So just to let everybody know, make sure that you tell 2 of your friends, 4 of your enemies, come check us out. Just because they don't like you doesn't mean that they won't like us. And as always, #FlyEagleFly. #Be Elite. And it's never where you start. It's always where you finish. And we out.
We out.
Go Birds.
And I can't find my outro. There we go.